weaknesses that certain teams can take advantage of, and that is definitely the early game.
Well, we're going to go ahead and load on into Champion Select for Game 1. AHQ going to be on your blue side. Hong Kong Attitude on the red to start things off here in Game 1 as we start with the set ban directed over there toward 3Z.
I have the biggest question though for AHQ. Do they want to give away the Azir? Because most of the time they're very confident, especially during the first few weeks of the PCS. Now they looked a little bit shaky, especially when we saw that game against Alpha, where they drafted a composition where it's a little bit more reactive and they can't exactly start something. For HQ, I'm assuming they would build a little bit more on their 2v2s to take advantage of HKA's weaker early game.
We'll see here now on the side of AHQ. They're also going to ban out the Senna. That was actually used by Hong Kong Attitude against Berjaya Dragons along with that Maokai bot, so not out of the question there. Meanwhile, though, the Varus and Olaf are going to be banned away. Olaf was a key pick there for Kong. He even said, I think, during one of the pre-game shows that, you know, don't let me get my Olaf. It's absolutely disgusting. This one is a bit interesting, though. The Graves has popped up in popularity in other regions. We've seen it a lot, actually, over in EU Masters, and now that means the Aphelios is going to get locked in here for AHQ.
Yeah, a lot of priority again towards Kongya, removing at least the Olaf and as well as the Graves. We've seen at least one Graves in the PCS during playoffs. Unfortunately, it didn't work out so well. So for HKA, Hollow on this Trundle, we haven't really seen this pick much during the playoffs, but I believe he did pick this up back in the regular season.
Yeah, he's played it. He played it actually in both series against Nova here, which helped them secure their spot against Berjaya. So not out of the question the team has had success when it comes to the playoffs. That, though, the Thresh is going to get locked in. Kind of a nice little pick up there for Wing. That does mean, though, for AHQ, they can go ahead and pick up this Lee Sin for Kongya in the jungle.
And this is actually a very, very fast draft. Again, I've seen Wings Thresh as well. It has been very effective and has managed to be that main engage for HK to get a few picks here and there. And I feel like the best game for Wing that time was definitely against Liab. Meanwhile, for Uniboy here on the Syndra, it's really no stranger since it's open. Actually, there's a lot open as well, including the LeBlanc. But let's see whether or not Eminem will go back to this Kalista or maybe even the Misfortune.
Yeah, Misfortune has been a little bit more of the go-to here for Eminem. We haven't seen him too often on the Kalista, at least when it comes to playoffs. And for HQ, like you mentioned, the Syndra locked in for Uniboy. Could have actually went with the Zoe pickup as well. He absolutely loves to pick that blind, but like you mentioned now, it does leave open a couple of mid-lane bans on the side of AHQ if they want to try and, you know, hunker down the pool that is Jimian. We do see, though, the Blitzcrank being banned out here by Hong Kong Attitude.
It makes me wonder if we are going to see the return of Jimian Silas, perhaps, going against the Syndra. Maybe we'll see him back in the Azir because, again, it is all about that late game team fight that HKA is assembling. And as we can see, it's looking really, really solid with the addition of this Misfortune.
Zoe, though, going to be banned out here on the side of AHQ. Could also look at maybe banning away maybe a pocket pick for Jimian. He obviously loves playing his Azir. He's also brought out the Lucian mid a couple times, so that's another option for AHQ if they want to try and ban that away. Nautilus, though, getting rid of the heavy engage supports on the side of Hong Kong Attitude. Don't want to let Wing get caught out in the bot lane 2v2 alongside Eminem, and it is going to be the Azir ban here by AHQ.
Yeah, if HQ would like to decide to be a little bit more aggressive at bot side, then they can choose to maybe get a Leona to take advantage of HK's, again, a little bit more reserved early game. But again, there's huge improvements to their confidence, so they've been fighting a little bit back, a little bit more even to the top teams of the PCS. Bard, though, getting hovered for HQ. We'll see that's going to be paired with Isera, or rather with Wako.
Interesting, though, that we do get to see the Corki actually come out here for Jimian. He did play it once against Jade Team in the most recent games of HKA, and it does kind of go in line with the style that HKA like to play for, you know, waiting for that 2 to 3 item spike where maybe they can start fighting around that 30-minute mark. They are going up against, though, a Braum, which is going to be looking to intercept a lot of that damage and then pair that up with a beefy Ornn in the front line. It's going to be a bit difficult to get on top of this Aphelios if you're on the side of Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, for AHQ, they're assembling a really good 5v5 and as well as, the strong 2v2s, considering you see Kongyu and Uniboy getting such a strong early game pair. And for HKA, they really waited a while to get 3Z's matchup. And it seems to me this will be the direction that HKA wants to take. Vladimir.
All right, we're going to get ourselves a Vladimir to start things off here. From 3Z, we asked, where was this man the entirety of the regular season? He was always, on to his, tanks or his bruisers like a Set or possibly a Mordekaiser. Now we get to see a Vladimir after witnessing his Akali in the previous weeks. I'm extremely excited to see this from Hong Kong Attitude, but this definitely screams we are looking for a massive Wombo combo in the late game. We're going to be able to hope to get that all on top of the Syndra as well as this Aphelios in the same fight.
Yeah, and considering that this is such a very scary assembly that HKA managed to pull off, considering this is going to be the first time we'll be seeing 3Z on this Vladimir. And at this point, what does HQ decide to do? And most likely, again, take advantage of that weak early game that HK usually has shown during the early PCS tournament.
Well, we're going to go ahead and get ourselves set for our first game of the day. Of course, we got this best of 3 between AHQ and Hong Kong Attitude. And then we'll be moving on into a best of 5 with the winner of this series taking on Talon Esports. It's going to be a long day of League of Legends. I'm excited, though, to see it, as we'll be deciding who gets to go against Machi in our grand finals tomorrow as we load on for Game 1 to the Rift.
Again, it's going to be insanely tough for HKA, considering that these two teams never exactly met during the playoffs, it's just now. So you only have that basis on the regular split, where it was such a grueling 0-2 that AHQ managed to pull off. And these are, winning lanes, win game kind of deal. But now this is different. This is a new HKA, especially we see 3Z on this Vlad.
On to the Rift we go. For Hong Kong Attitude, it has been a pretty impressive climb back into this lower bracket semi-final against AHQ. They're able to 2-0 Berjaya Dragons in the previous round, a team that had their number during the regular season where they were able to find 2 back-to-back wins over HKA. And it seemed like the only teams they were able to actually find success against were a lot of the former LST squads, like Liab, like Resurgence. Everyone else, though, it felt like they were very shaky in their performances.
Yeah, again, they always want to wait. Baron takes for sure.
Yeah, Hong Kong Attitude, they like to wait out for those Baron fights. There's late game team fights here, which is interesting because I think a lot of the teams that have found success against AHQ are the teams that are willing to actually fight very early on or go for brawly skirmishes, kind of like what we saw from the drafts of Talon during their series, where they were able to find the victory over AHQ.
Yeah, that's why we're looking into, Hollow being able to try and counter gank Kongya's pathing, especially he wants to get Uniboy ahead, and, Wacko is going to be chilling for sure at bot side a little bit with this Aphelios, but for sure, we're going to look into this level 6, and especially level 3 as well, considering that the damage output of Kongya will definitely be the bane of Jimyan earlier on, but he does have that Valkyrie for extra safety, so that's at least what's going on for this Porky pick.
Yeah, I want to see Hollow, especially when he's going to be on this Trundle as well. We've kind of talked about the PCS Trundle, at least early on during the season. It was rather unimpressive in most of its showings. We thought it didn't do a whole lot when it came to the fight. Wing, though, able to get a nice hook there, as well as the Flay. That should force out. Not going to force out any Summoner, but still gets Ysera down to a pretty low health margin. So a nice little play there coming out from Wing to start things off in the lane phase.
And yeah, we were talking about confidence, and again, they've managed to improve throughout the whole split, and we're seeing that right now with, Eminem and Wing leading the charge, even getting that hook over there. Not having to worry too much about, Kongya's early gank, as we see Hollow being the first one to just be here in this tri-rush.
They might be actually trying to look for possibly a play here. Maybe Hollow just wants to go ahead and try and get a little bit of the jungle taken away here from Kongya, as Kongya's pathing up toward the blue side of the map. Maybe only looking for a little bit of vision, or maybe going for a dive here, as the pings are going to come out. They get the wave pushed in onto Jimian, not able to land the thrown spear, but they're going to look for the stun combo. There it is. A little bit too late, though, on pulling the trigger there on the side of Kongya. That does allow Jimian to escape.
And we did mention that Valkyrie is just going to have a lot of value during the laning phase to escape certain danger, especially Kongya and Uniboy would definitely be a little bit more active here when it comes to ganking Jimian's lane. And just as we saw, I feel like Kongya is wondering where Hollow was, considering that he never got his Raptors. Hollow never got his Raptors, and he's still waiting a little bit. So now things are clear, it seems, as they're going to put a little bit more vision, or rather steal Hollow's Raptors.
You know, Trundle maybe not necessarily known for the best Raptors clear in the early levels. He's just only auto-attacking each individual Raptor. Kongya, though, is going to be happy. He gets to steal away a little bit of the gold there away from Hollow. And it's not going to be any first bloods either way, because he did make an appearance down toward that bot lane. They were actually able to force out every summoner of the bot lane of AHQ, so I do expect Hollow to try and make another appearance. Kongya might get collapsed here by 3Z, but 3Z's already dealing with minions trying to crash in onto his tower, so he's not really going to respond.
Yeah, nicely done. I think that is going to be a trade of, you know, one Raptor for Kongya at least to have to steal. For Hollow, he got most of the Krugs, I believe. I think that is a slight win for Hollow when it comes to his jungle rotation. We'll see, as Wing is actually roaming very, very early. Uniboy still has Flash, so that's something at least for that extra safety in comparison to this Corki pick, who has two mobile spells to at least rely on.
Yeah, unfortunately there for Wing, it looks like some decent ward coverage was already set there for Uniboy, so he keeps himself safe on the Syndra, and unfortunately Corki isn't one to have an engage or any form of CC to try and follow up there on a hook, so he'll stay safe. Just going to get a couple of wards down into the river to see whether or not they can spot out Kongyu, maybe trying to go for an early dragon.
Yeah, for you to, like, at this Corki lane in general, would want to get a little bit of poke here and there at least against Uniboy. And set up for a possible kill when Hollow decides to visit lane, or maybe a possible counter gank. As we can see, there's a ton of vision from AHQ here on that riverside near that dragon. Really full protection. It just means that Hollow will really focus on this area in general to relieve pressure from Jimian, or even put a lot on Wako and Sarah.
Yeah, Hollow's been actually able to continue his farm game rather well here, so he's actually got a level on Kongya, and a nice stun going to come out here from Uniboy, maybe going to look for a kill. That forces out the Valkyrie. Level 6 was just hit by Uniboy, so Jimian has to be a little bit careful here if he gets caught out by another Q.
Yeah, he is definitely on kill range right now, especially if you have that combo and it's level 6 already on that Unleashed power. But yeah, you're right, Hollow has been doing a good job matching the path of Kongya. Rather, Kongya has to path around and adjust against Hollow, and this is completely uncharacteristic because we see HKA, they're completely fine giving up the first two dragons of the game. So for HKA getting this first jump to get this dragon early so that they can contest Rift Herald for later when everybody's level 6 is actually really, really good.
Yeah, because it looks like, honestly, like you mentioned, we usually expect to see them give up that first dragon. Sometimes the first blood almost in every, fourth game they're able to at least clear and claim one with that 25% rate. But overall, it's usually them that are playing reactionary, as AHQ are the ones that are, maybe being a little bit slower here early on and not trying to match this Trundle.
Yeah, considering that it is AHQ's sort of a little bit of weakness when it comes to what they want to do, especially when they're up against certain teams that they think that they can take on. Meanwhile, Hollow does not spot that out. Red is gone already. 3Z and Ziv, though, is going to just have a little bit of chill, air quote, chill lane. So again, mid lane and bot lane. Bot side is definitely the lane to see. You have already the tier being gathered up by Jimian at least, and at this point, Jimian is still safe because he's actually a little bit healthy in terms of HP.
Meanwhile, teleport down into the bot lane is 3Z making an answer here down here as he pops the ultimate. It's going to pop Ysera down low, but Waco not going to get taken on down as Ziv is actually able to respawn, and from Hong Kong Attitude, a very aggressive play comes out. Uniboy also pathing down toward the bot lane. But unfortunately, they're not able to really claim anything there. It's going to be a teleport for a teleport and a couple other summoners blown on top of it is they're not able to secure a kill. Hollow, though, in the top lane is going to at least get a push and maybe able to crash this minion wave into the tower.
Yeah, I feel like it is just such a very unfortunate considering that earlier on, Hollow visited bot side to remove the summoner spells of AHQ, and now they have their heal and exhaust back with Flash about to go back to off cooldown. So with that, HKA fortunately not able to take advantage of that window, but still, that's still a bunch of summoners burned again, and we'll have to see whether or not HKA will decide to attempt another.
Well, with both top laners actually showing themselves and teleporting down, they're going to stay down there, and both bot lanes are actually going to rotate toward the top side of the map, try and get a decent amount of pressure. Uniboy is going to get caught out here. Wing is nearby. It's Kongya that's also nearby. Uniboy flashing over to safety. In comes the Valkyrie package. That's Jimyan able to find first blood here for Hong Kong Attitude as they strike first overall in the series against AHQ.
I am loving what I'm seeing from HKA. Again, that was totally unexpected. Considering Uniboy, there was not a lot of vision to work with, and Uniboy walked into a death trap head first. And that is quite unfortunate, considering Jimyan's timing on the package as well, which means AHQ didn't really exactly respect the package siren, as considering that a lot of the teams, or rather, wait for the package to expire first before trying to engage. So this is just a little bit lenient for coming from HQ.
And this was very much needed because Uniboy was starting to get himself a pretty massive CS advantage in mid lane. So for Jimmy to actually get that first blood bonus keeps him equal in the lane as he was down almost 30 CS. So a nice pick there from HKA with the help of the vision they laid down earlier is going to be able to set themselves up very nicely, especially for this Corki as you want to continue to accelerate and allow him to grow into, again, this Muramana as well as his Trinity Force later on.
Exactly, and I feel like in terms of damage later on, I feel like Uniboy in general will not be able to keep up with all of the AoE and package that Jimyan will provide when it comes to the team fight. So with that said, Uniboy still indeed such a huge threat to eliminate squishy targets and make it an immediate 4v5. But when Jimyan lands all the pokes and gets his items later on, and when teams start to decide to start building all of these defenses, then I feel like Uniboy later on will definitely have a hard time.
So not a bad start here for Hong Kong Attitude. Meanwhile, bot lane, Civ, get a nice little combo. Called Forge God actually going to be popped here. That gets the ultimate out of Civ. Also going to run the Ignite. This is Civ going for the 1v1 against the Vladimir. 3Z ticking down. Final auto attack will be there, and Civ gets the 1v1.
That is wild. I'm pretty sure 3Z didn't expect that. He thought that their exchange at topside would have been still intact when they switch it up at bot. But yeah, I feel like 3Z just really didn't expect Ziv to pull the trigger there, and that Ignite really damaged 3Z into this duel.
Yeah, that's the power of having that spellbook is if you go ahead and trade it in for the Ignite while you're waiting for the teleport cooldown, hey, it works out and you can find a 1v1 against the Vladimir. And we even saw a little bit during the, trash talk segments. They said, put Civ on a brawler. He doesn't want to play tanks. And even on tanks, he's still able to find solo kills.
Exactly, and again, it was definitely unexpected. But now for AHQ, they've managed to secure the Rift Herald despite HKA managing to get one pick off of Uniboy. So that's a bit of a gold swing for AHQ.
There we go. Rift Herald popped in mid lane. That's going to allow AHQ to secure a 1,500 gold lead. And with the Rift Herald already being taken, it does allow then the bot lanes to transition down towards the bot side of the map. And AHQ will be looking to secure their first dragon of the game, getting the Inferno.
And that's one dragon apiece for AHQ and HKA. Now, the big question is whether or not HKA will decide to get that 5v5 when the next Rift Herald comes. Since in terms of AoE, they do have that edge over AHQ, so hoping to see that for later. Meanwhile, Jimyan already continuing his stack towards that Muramana. That's going to be a huge spike later on for sure. Luden still not completed for Uniboy, at least to have that sustain in lane to poke out Jimyan a little bit more to be in range of any sort of burst. Meanwhile, 3Z, he's gotta be careful against Ziv.
this is a rough time now for 3Z, as now it's shown that Civ can find a solo kill. He's actually gone ahead and already optimized immediately into the MR item, so he's going to be able to soak up all the damage being thrown at him by 3Z continuously during the lane. And it's Orin. He's a pretty tanky boy. He also has exhaust currently from his spellbook, so he might be still looking for a 1v1 if 3Z does not respect him. Minus that, you'll at least give at least over to 3Z. He's been able to at least continue his farm, and he's been able to at least equal out the gold over Civ. The big disparity is still in this mid lane with the fact that Uniboy has been able to continue to farm, and Jimmy, and even with that bonus first blood gold, he'd actually be down almost 1,000 gold already.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely this matchup that is quite a struggle, especially early. Especially you have to take note that Kongye might be lurking around somewhere, considering that there's not a lot of vision to work with on this right side near the dragon for HKA in general. But yeah, you've got at least the Sheen already picked up, so it's on his way to this Triforce. And at this point, for HKA, the big question is whether or not they would like to contest again the next few objectives. As you mentioned, farm-wise, AHQ is ahead, so for HKA, they will be hoping to get farm from kills.
Yeah, I think for HKA, they may give up one or two more objectives the way things are going, because maybe you're mainly looking for, you know, that Trinity Force to be completed onto your Corki, as well as the second crit item to come out on your Misfortune, because you see that bullet time being used to clear waves. At this moment, Eminem just doesn't really want to fight. He was saying to his team, all right, you know what? Let's wait for the second item on this Vladimir as well. Let me get my Infinity Edge. Then we can go for a big wombo combo on this Aphelios and Syndra before they start getting very scary in the later part of the game.
Yeah, and I feel like for HKA, I think that is... They're going to be satisfied with what they've managed to set up, but this is going to be a dive coming from AHQ. HKA will decide to either stay around, maybe try to do an outplay, but I guess they will concede.
Yeah, unfortunately there, the Aphelios can push rather well, and they're also going to go ahead and steal away the blue buff from HKA, so Jimmy won't be able to have that. He is a Corki though, so he's already been stacking up his tier. It's not the end of the world. So with that, that's going to be the second tower of the game going in favor of AHQ, and they're able to contain this 1,800 gold lead over Hong Kong Attitude as we just crest over 15 minutes.
If this keeps up, HKA will still go towards the usual plan of aiming towards late game 5v5s around the Baron or around the Dragons, and just as you mentioned, get that 2-item power spike for Corki and as well as for Eminem on this Misfortune. But Rift Herald is about to spawn. So with that said, will the poke be enough coming from Jimian and Eminem? Because bullet time is about to be online for the side of HKA. So they're definitely primed and ready. Item-wise, not very sure. So they gotta poke them out first before going in a full engage.
Yeah, you do see them. They've already actually brought the Misfortune into the mid lane, and we're starting to see the beginnings of the ping pong in the mid lane. Please, both of these teams. I want to see some action. I want to see farm for 35 minutes. It does seem like, though, HK are looking for this. They do have package available on the Corki, and the Rift Herald is going to be started.
Yeah, it's the perfect timing. AHQ, though, they want to contest this one. They got to be careful because of the package.
Here we go. Civ is nearby, has the Call of the Forge God available. 5,000 health onto the Rift Herald. It's going to turn its back over to Hong Kong Attitude. That's what they're looking for here, is it gets brought out of the pit. Both teams, 3Z looking for a very wide flank wing, not going to be able to land the hook. They're waiting for that eye to open up once again. Call the Forge God is going to be used against a 3-man knock-up. 3Z on the flank, only able to get the ultimate down onto Uniboy, and they're going to turn their attention back on over to Civ. Meanwhile, package is used. Civ is unstoppable, but he's finally going to get taken down. Bullet time was used just to disengage. HQ can't find the fight.
I love what HKA did. So they managed to separate, isolate Ziv away from the team, and you add the bullet time as well for the zone, so HQ is not able to follow up. Problem is, HQ managed to get that Rift Herald still in exchange off of 1 kill, so I feel like that is pretty worth.
Yeah, so with that, they're going to go ahead and gain a little bit more gold. Eminem is going to at least try and contest this mid lane and try and push that in hard as fast as he can, but top side, it's going to be Shelly getting one more crack at this tower, and unfortunately for HK, maybe not the trade they're looking for here, as they maybe wanted a couple more kills.
Yeah, that's a lot of value out of that Rift Herald for AHQ. They will definitely be happy about that. In the meantime, though, HKA will decide to just exchange a couple of, at least one kill in the dragon, and as well as that mid lane tower. But let's take a look at this again. So this is perfect timing. Wing, your main engage coming from HKA is not going to be available as he was in Golden, but Ziv was separated, and this Valkyrie just really zoned them away, including this bullet time.
Yeah, it kind of felt like Ziv was kind of feeling, hey guys, we could try and take a fight here. I'm feeling it. And the rest of the team, they already secured the Riptail. They're like, we don't really need to, so we're going to just head on top lane. And they sacrifice the Ornn. So maybe not the optimal communication between the squad. You did see that, 3Z was really looking for a flank there on the Vladimir. Still a little bit early, though, for him to be able to do a ton of damage that he's probably looking for. Maybe wants, one or two more items before he's able to do that himself. But in the end, Hong Kong Attitude were able to also secure their second Dragon of the game, and it is going to be an Ocean Soul, which for both of these squads is very nice to have. It makes it so the, Ornn is near unkillable, and it makes it so the Vladimir is near unkillable. So both of these top laners are an absolute hassle if either one of these squads gets Soul.
Yeah, and considering that, for Jimyeon, if they do want to set up sieges, perhaps they can rely on certain poke, especially for AHQ. Their type of engage is a little bit expected, as you're going to be expecting that Ornhorn coming in towards certain, Dragon or Baron dances, or maybe even sieges. But yeah, for HKA, I suppose they at least didn't lose too much in that fight, and managed to even exchange a couple of objectives.
So rather common. This is kind of the style that we witnessed from AHQ in their last series 2 weekends ago, where there wasn't really much happening for the team outside of the minor objective trade here and there. We didn't actually see a first kill until about 31 minutes into the game in their series against Alpha. So to say AHQ are happy playing this one out slow, it seems like both squads, they both have that mentality that they're just going to have the better team fight when it hits the late game.
And I feel like this is such a huge difference, especially coming from AHQ, because when we look back at their first 2 games in the spring split, they were extra aggressive, they were diving here and there, and this is a complete difference because it just means there's a lot of respect now against HKA, especially that they've managed to improve throughout the whole tournament. And now we've got Muramana fully stacked for Jimmy, and I think that is such a huge spike. It will be very painful once the big shots come in.
Yeah, it's a nice little spike to finally have on that Corki. You're still waiting, though, on the Triforce to be completed. You actually had to run the Merc Treads immediately just to be able to soak up some of the damage that might be thrown out here by Uniboy. So it does delay his build slightly, because they are rather expensive, but nonetheless, it's going to be AHQ. Ooh, Uniboy finding a very nice combo there on M&M. Gets him down to about half health, but no one on the other side of AHQ is nearby to help capitalize on the pick.
That was extra brave of Uniboy, actually. Very forward, not afraid of any sort of death sentence coming from Wing. But that is a Summoner spell burnt on the side of M&M. No heal available for the next fight that AHQ is looking to start.
Let's see here. Q not going to land there from Kongyu. This Lee Sin has been rather quiet this game, actually. Kongyu hasn't been able to really make any appearances during the lane phase, wasn't able to pick up anything. Hollow's kind of the only one that was able to make an impact here and there. As Wing, he gets caught out toward the side. A nice play is going to at least delay his death, it seems, here as the combo comes through. And finally, there it is. Kongyu able to strike his first blood on the board.
And I see pings here and there for the Baron, and that's going to be the start. 30 seconds more or less for Wing to come back online. And I don't, for HKA, they have bullet time available, but it's getting chunked down a little bit.
Teleport is there. M&M nearby. He doesn't have a whole lot of mana, though, so can really only do one spell cycle. It's AHQ going to continue on this Baron. 3,000 health. The kick is going to land, but no, it was already used. Call the Forge God. Lands onto 2 members. Hollow has to force a flash out to safety. 3Z looking for the flank. Was able to get the ultimate onto Waco and Uniboy. It is enough, at least on the side of HKA, to force the Baron to be disengaged here on the side of AHQ. Jimyeon still has package available, getting some good rockets down. But it won't be enough damage to make the call to go for the kills.
I want to say clap, clap, clap for HKA. It was definitely enough to stop AHQ in their tracks to continue this Baron take. And it's perfect, too, because this is 3rd Dragon for HKA. They have control. For spells used, there's no Ornhorn for that main engage on the side of AHQ. So they will definitely rely on Wako this time around.
That's going to be package having to be burned as it is timeout. Interesting enough here for Uniboy, he actually went for the Spellbinder as the second item. So a very, you could say, greedy buy. This is really going for all in onto your mid-game fights. You're looking for those 100 stacks to be popped, and then you're able to get a decent chunk of damage. HKA, though, it looks like they're just not confident to try and contest for this dragon. That does mean AHQ are to be able to sneak on in and take their second dragon of the game.
Now, I feel like for HKA, they will be a little bit more confident as when, 3Z has his Hemoplague. Actually used his Hemoplague just now. Or was that a replay? But anyway, let's take a look at... It was a replay.
Yeah, what happened here? Okay, this is just showing what happened to Wing here as he was just cut out an award. So that's how AHQ were able to see where this was.
Yeah, and this enabled that Baron take. But again, HKA did a good job stopping that at least. But for 3Z, or rather for Jimian, he has the Triforce completed. And that is, again, a very scary spike when it comes to HKA's composition. And you, at least, for example, if the bullet time doesn't finish the necessary targets, you have Jimian to try and poke them out a little bit more and maybe finish 1 kill or 2.
Well, if you look here onto the side of HQ, you're starting to see some scary spikes themselves. They now have 2 Ornn items completed on Civ. He's going to start upgrading the rest of the squad's items, likely maybe upgrade that Ludens here for Uniboy. You also have 2 items now onto the Aphelios, so overall, it might be only a 2,000 gold lead in favor of AHQ, but with those upgrades, it feels like it's a little bit closer to 4,000, and this is kind of a prime opportunity for AHQ to try and go for a fight here, as HKA are still waiting on, that Infinity Edge to be completed for M&M and the second item for 3Z.
Yeah, exactly. This is such a good opener for AHQ, considering, just as you mentioned earlier, Uniboy aimed for a little bit more of that glass cannon damage type Syndra, which I feel like HKA can certainly take advantage of if Wing gets a really nice death sentence. But now with the formation that AHQ has, they're always together, especially with Ysera as well, always roaming around with them as well. So it's kind of hard to try and catch Uniboy off guard.
You also got a note here that Civ does actually have teleport himself, 3Z does not. So they have teleport advantage available to them if they wish to try and go for this Baron. It would take a little while for 3Z to try and answer. He is going to head back to base though and start pathing toward the Baron pit once again, as Hong Kong Attitude, they're a little bit skeptical, they're a little uncertain. That's going to be the kick back. He does get stunned up. A beautiful combo coming out there from AHQ as they're able to take down the jungle, and instantly pings go on over to the Baron with the teleport from Ziv.
And unfortunately, that Lantern has got to expire. Now for HQ, they have to try and finish down this Baron, as HK only has to work with 4 people.
4 people, but they do have their 2 main damage dealers up and available. Bullet time comes out, maybe a little bit too early to be pulling the trigger. Call the Forge God going to come out from Civ, trying to look for the play. 3Z is going to get exhausted, stunned combo to death. It's beautiful on the side of AHQ as they take down the Vladimir. 3,000 health back onto the Baron. AHQ looking for the secure, and they will be able to find it here as Uniboy able to secure it with his Scatter of the Week. AHQ now with Baron at 26 minutes.
And that's a domino effect that has been happening for, unfortunately for HKA. This is the second time around where one has lost their life near this Baron pit, which enabled AHQ to get these objectives. And unfortunately, out of everyone, it was Hollow. And he relied too much on the Lantern, I suppose. So when AHQ saw it expire, it was definitely that go signal to just chain in the CC. And that is the scary composition of AHQ. There's just a ton of single target CC. And for HKA, they really have to get that first jump if they want to eliminate someone first.
Yeah, we're going to see it back there. Yeah, it was just a little unfortunate that timing there for Hollow, but then on top of that was the fact that AHQ were able to chain CC 3Z so well during this ensuing fight in the river.
Yeah, it was 3Z hoping to get a big combo to at least pair it with Jimian, but there's the Scatter the Weak, Exhaust even, the Braum passive, and everything else just followed through. And unfortunately for Jimian, without your air quote front line to soak for you, then you can't do anything as much.
Yeah, you're kind of hoping to maybe get a good package off, but unfortunately it was already used in the previous fight. So AHQ, now with Baron buff, can start sieging in the lanes of Hong Kong Attitude, try and break open maybe an inhibitor with this buff, as they still have it for the next 90 seconds. All those got to be careful. He gets tagged up, and it looks like they have to concede the second tier tower in mid lane.
Yeah, it's all about that inhibitor tower defense now. That's a very scary stun if AHQ decides to commit. But they have resources here at bot side, and now bullet time being used to clear. Nicely done by Ysera for that shield to sort of tank away the little bit of damage and remove a little bit of value out of that bullet time.
Yeah, meanwhile, though, Kanye's still at least in that mid lane helping siege in the tower. He is going to back off here as it looks like AHQ are just going to continue to secure some of the standing gold left on the map on the side of Hong Kong Attitude as they take their second tier tower. Top side is also very close to being taken naturally by minions, and with this pressure in the bot lane, they're also able to go ahead and secure the dragon, even using the Call of the Forge God just to try and knock away Jimian, and that's the inhibitor tower taken.
Oh,
3Z with the flank, though, uses that Hemo play, gets on top of the back line, a nice exhaust there, forces him to have to back off. Kongyu wants to try and make his way up from the jungle, from the Dragon Pit, now re-engaged, possibly being found here for AHQ. A beautiful scatter of the week into a three-man kick from Kongyu. He finds the back line into the knock-up on Wing, and AHQ are looking clean here as they force Jimian back into the grave as he gets caught out once again. Uniboy with some spectacular scatter of the weeks.
And this is, you know, Cinder being open for Uniboy, even very confident going into, you know, picking that. Oh, another stun on towards 3Z, but that's a lot of death timers.
And with that, it's going to be 3Z having to back off onto his fountain. Weko still alive, has his turret down. 3Z is forced to go into stasis. It's going to be the stun, and Eminem, even with his bullet time, can't hold the base. 3Z's going to fall apart, and just like that, HQ, you give them one opportunity, and they will absolutely close out the game. Wako gets hooked back into the fountain, but it doesn't matter. HQ with game one in the books.
And that was HKA's last stand. And we saw, you know, they tried to flank with Vladimir. Unfortunately, the exhaust was just very, very well placed. There's not a lot of impact during that fight. And tons of stuns from Uniboy. He's a monster on this Syndra.
And Kongya, I was wondering, you know, when is this Lee Sin going to do anything? Well, he did something there in that, you know, bot lane. Was waiting for that one kick. He gets three members, combo that up into, again, that was, I think, 2 or 3 back-to-back scatter of the week that were just absolutely brilliant coming out from Uniboy.
Yeah, considering, again, during the team fights, if you get that unleashed power, many dark spheres, and then everybody is just all clumped up and they wanted to just retreat and run for the hills, but Uniboy, everybody else didn't really allow that to happen. So for HK, that was supposedly probably another round of defense, but it was just AHQ finishing this game there and then.
Yeah, give them the opportunity. They'll be able to close it out here. And for HKA, were they able to hit the 30-minute mark? Well, they finally did, but at that point, their base was already being taken. So, you know, HQ gave them a little bit of breathing room. But after that, it just... yeah, it's AHQ. Once they were able to find the opportunity, they were able to play pretty clean. And this is actually, I think, a very good turnaround from what we saw of the games against Alpha, where they looked very shaky in their series on the side of AHQ. This time around, though, knowing when they can fight and picking their targets beautifully. We saw 3Z getting comboed to death during the river. He wasn't really able to do much on that Vladimir. And then getting the priority picks in the bot lane fight to close out this game.
Yeah, and for HKA, they looked really good during the first few minutes of this match. Managing to get a pick off of Uniboy during that Rift Herald take, maybe even, you know, the constant pressure from Hollow at bot side, early teleport at bot as well to create impact, transition that to a rotation towards Rift Herald. That is a completely different HKA, but unfortunately, they fall back to the usual scale towards, you know, that 35-minute mark, and unfortunately, if you're against AHQ, they will definitely not let you reach through that spike.
Yeah, because like overall from Hong Kong Attitude, we saw a couple different instances where, you know, it started to look a little bit good. They had a good, you know, early game pick on Uniboy, and it looked like if they're able to continue trying to do those style of plays, they'll be able to find success here against AHQ. But other than that one play, we didn't see a whole lot from them. We saw them at least being able to contest, you know, a Baron or two. But other than that, it was just kind of AHQ's game.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where imagine if they weren't getting picked off one by one around their own red side. So it just snowballed out of control, out of, getting a pick off of Wing, getting a pick off of Hollow. And with that, they couldn't get, the breathing space that they wanted after that. And now I want to see if they can push early game a little bit more, because for AHQ, they're really confident when it comes to, when they are together as maybe 3s or 5s.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at that bot lane siege that came out from AHQ that helped open the door, and I'll give it from the side of Hong Kong Attitude. 3Z, he really wanted to try and go for this play, but the rest of the team just isn't here.
Yeah, there was no follow-up to take advantage of that Hemo Plague explosion. And at this point, Kongye already making his way towards this clash. And at this point, they wanted to run for the hills. That's, again, a beautiful scatter of the week. And at this point, Kongye, with the alley-oops here and there, HKA not able to escape anymore.
So we'll take a look at our post-game stats. It wasn't even 30 minutes, and AHQ actually sealed the deal. So maybe Hollow... maybe he's, jinxing his team when it comes to the trash talk. He mentioned they don't ever get to that 30-minute mark. Well, AHQ have kept it similar when it comes to this series so far in Game 1, as they're able to take home the victory pretty heavy-handedly once they got themselves an advantage.
Yeah, just a few seconds off, actually, towards that 30-minute mark. But yeah, looking at the graph, there's a little bit of signs of life coming from HKA. But after, around before the 10-minute mark, AHQ has managed to win again individually when it comes to the early game. I think that is the struggle that HKA has to, jump over, because again, this is a BO3. It's in AHQ's hand right now to win this next match.
Yeah, AHQ. We'll see whether or not they can close out the series, because, again, this is a long day of League of Legends. I don't think you want to go to a Game 3 during this series, because immediately after this, you have to go into a best-of-5 against Talon, and maybe you want to try and, hide more of your cards going into that series. MVP, though, it's going to go on over to Civ on the Ornn with the MVP.
Yeah, managed to solo kill 3Z on the Vladimir. Absolutely mad on this Ornn with his setups. Again, he was this main engage that they had to rely on the 5v5s, which HKA is, again, that is their strength. But for AHQ, pretty much such a strong overall team, individually speaking. So with that, you're right, they're not showing their cards too much. It's pretty standard AHQ draft so far.
Yeah, I think for Hong Kong Attitude, that question now comes, what do they want to do here in Game 2 to try and, shift around this series? Because especially, we talked about 3Z. He got to be on a carry this time, but he was still getting solo killed by Civ in the 1v1 on the Ornn, and it's like, well, that doesn't bode too well. And it seems like communication's a little bit all over the place. So for Hong Kong Attitude, we'll see whether or not they're able to, keep composure, try and calm themselves down as we head into a Game 2, which will be taking place after a short break. So don't go anywhere. More PCS will be coming just shortly.